Technology both excites me and scares me. I think there are innumerable opportunities with technology, and I think it can reduce the cost of education, it can increase access and accessibility, it can make learning much more personalized and more inclusive. There's a lot we can do. My fear or my concern is that unless we are careful, the quality of education might be compromised.
Hello and welcome to the Future of Universities podcast series. My name is Madeleine Arkins, Project Officer at UIIN and your host for today. During the 2023 UIIN Conference, we had the pleasure of sitting down with Diana El-Azar, Senior Director of Strategic Communications at Minerva Project, a San Francisco-based education innovation company that is revolutionizing higher education. Join us as we discuss Minerva Project's unique approach to education, where they created the most innovative university in the world and are now partnering with other higher education institutions to transform curricula. I'm joined by Diana El-Azar, Senior Director of Strategic Communications at Minerva Project. To begin, Diana, would you just tell me a little bit about Minerva Project and also about your role there?
Sure. Minerva Project is a San Francisco-based education innovation company. The idea behind Minerva is to reform higher education, and we do that by first we created our own university, Minerva University, which is now ranked as the most innovative university in the world. And now we partner with other universities who want to innovate and reform their curricula, their pedagogies, through tech-enabled solutions. So we believe in interdisciplinary curriculum and therefore to impart durable skills. We believe in banning lectures and rather using active learning and experiential learning, which is backed by the science of learning. That's a more effective way to learn. And we also believe that we can deconstruct the concepts of space and time, and then learning can happen in different places and at different times.
Great. And your role as Senior Director of Strategic Communications, what does that entail?
So I had thought leadership and communications, and that means trying to impart our philosophies around learning to as many audiences as possible through thought leadership, through writing around topics such as hybrid education, durable skills, AI, and higher education, and also managing the different parts of communications, whether through social media, through speaking at conferences, through publications, etc.
Technology is a big thing that appears to be continuing to shape education. I wondered what Minerva Project does to leverage technology in how it designs curricula at its own university.
Technology in itself, like most other things, are not good or bad, but rather how we use it is what makes it useful or not, effective or less. And in our view, technology has to always follow pedagogy. It's a means to better learning rather than an end by itself. So at Minerva, we do use technology specifically around assessment, because when you use technology in a classroom, you can reduce things such as bias, such as faulty memory. You can capture what students have said or written without relying on memory, and students themselves can go back and see what they've written or said, and this actually helps in their formative evaluation, and they can learn from their past experiences.
I'm curious to know what are the results you have seen in graduates of Minerva University? What makes them different from students of an atypical university?
So we've graduated now 4 years of Minerva University students, and the 5th will be in this month, later this month. We have seen incredible results, actually. A good, I would say over 90% are employed within 6 months, and many of them get into the graduate schools of their choice. Most of them, I would say. Pretty much every single student who's applied to Harvard Medical School has gotten in. And we've seen them employed in incredible jobs in places such as National Geographic or Meta or Google or SoftBank. But not only that, many of them have gone and started their own ventures. And 12% of our graduates have VC-backed startups, which are incredible results. How are they different? I can tell you anecdotally, because I've hired some of them as interns, And I would say they are equivalent to a professional with a few years experience. And these are the students who have not graduated yet, because they have adopted concepts, foundational concepts, in the way they think and process problems and solve for them, which is atypical of a regular education.
I had one question about how you ensure that the curriculum you design at Minerva remains relevant, given that curriculum that was taught maybe 10, 15 years ago, depending on the discipline, may be obsolete by now.
The issue with most current curricula is that they focus on disciplines and they focus on knowledge and information, which by definition will become obsolete and even more quicker in this day and age. At Minerva, it's not that we've gotten away from disciplines. We still teach disciplines, but as vessels, as containers to teaching fundamental, foundational concepts. And I'll give you a few examples. Everyone wants to teach critical thinking. Critical thinking as such is not a thing. You cannot teach it. You need to break it down into its components and teach those things. So what is a critical thinker? A critical thinker is someone who's able to evaluate the quality of the source of where they're reading. They're able to understand the concepts of plausibility, of credibility, of causation, of correlation. So we're going to teach those concepts, and they might be taught in an English class or in a communications class or in a physics class, but it's the concepts that are being learned, and the students themselves know that they are learning these concepts. It's important that this is explicit. And in my opinion, these concepts are durable. They will not perish with new technologies, whereas the disciplines themselves might or will evolve, or part of the knowledge will be obsolete. And I think that's what's important in how you teach durable skills.
Yeah, so much of those durable, transversal, soft skills, it's one thing to teach them. How can an employer assess them thereafter?
Assessment is a big issue, and this is why we don't rely on high-stake exams. At Minerva, there are no exams. Students are assessed on those concepts explicitly in every lesson. We have a rubric that identifies whether they are able to understand them, whether they are able to explain them, whether they are able to apply them. And as they move along that knowledge spectrum, if you will, you understand that they've become part of their learning experience. And once they can apply them in different contexts, so not just in one context, this is when they really learn them. Because in the workplace, they're going to meet new contexts, unlearned contexts. But if they've really internalized those concepts, they are able to apply them over and over again in new places.
I'm wondering, in implementing the model that Minerva Project do, both in your own university and also in the curricula that you design and other partnerships you have, are there any particular challenges that come up, and how have you overcome them?
Introducing change, and especially when it's transformational innovation at a deep level at the institution, is difficult. It's always hard. And the hardest part is around change management. The hardest part is around mindset change. It's not the actual implementation, but getting people to accept that there are different, potentially more innovative ways to do things. What we've seen at a lot of our partner organizations is that the decision to innovate has to come from the top. However, it cannot be imposed from the top. What we've seen as successful models is our universities that have succeeded in bringing a group of faculty and potentially staff from different disciplines to work together with Minerva faculty to co-create the innovation. So I think that's incredibly important, that the innovation's decision is from the top, but you bring along with you a multitude of stakeholders.
How do you view partnerships and its importance in your role?
The whole model of how Minerva operates is through partnerships. And a partnership, as its name indicates, is about bringing two parties and each bringing their strengths and resources together to create something new. So at Minerva, an important ingredient of the partnership is also to build capacity at that partner. It's not a transactional partnership, but rather it's about creating fundamental change in the organization and therefore having especially faculty and other leaders in the organization embrace that change, and that's something that becomes part of the DNA of the organization.
Is there anything of the future of education that you are in particular excited, interested in?
I think technology both excites me and scares me to a certain extent. I think there are innumerable opportunities with technology, and I think it can reduce the cost of education, it can increase access and accessibility, I think it can make learning much more personalized and more inclusive. There's a lot we can do. My fear or my concern is that unless we are careful, the quality of education might be compromised, because often access and quality, there's a tension between them. I'm not saying it's a zero-sum game. It can be win, but higher education and the whole ecosystem has to be very aware of that and work proactively to ensure that the accessibility of education doesn't come at the cost of quality of education.
Is there anything that Minerva Project does to really emphasize inclusivity in the way they approach learning?
We're about using technology to increase access, but very much so creating valuable, I would say not valuable, but the high standards of education as well. And I've given examples of how education can be more inclusive in terms of reducing bias in the system, etc., but while keeping the standard of education exceptional.
Thank you for listening to the discussion. Follow UIN on LinkedIn, and if you're enjoying our podcast, make sure to subscribe, rate, and review on your podcast platform of choice to help others find this content too.